Let's go, let's go. Alright, people wanna hate every day, it's okay.
My name is Jesse May. I lived life on the edge from the age 13 through 21, which led me to serving time in federal prison. These stories are from that time, my time in federal prison, and my life after as I built a successful excavating business. I don't condone or recommend any of the behavior from my younger years, but if you'd like to hear the whole story, subscribe, Reckless Success. All right, welcome back, Reckless Success. Today we've got our producer, Luke O'Neill, on, and he's always behind the scenes, so tonight I wanted to put him in front of the camera, get his name out there, let everybody know who he is. He's really helped us get going because we were lost. We had no clue what to do. So what we did, what we would in business, we hired a company that does what we were looking for. And that's Luke with Union Street
Arts.
Union Street Arts.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, first I'll tell you a little history on me, Luke, even though you already know it. And then we'll talk a little business. So
Sounds good.
one time we were I had this guy that would always have cheap stuff. I mean, I don't know where he was getting it at, but it definitely wasn't probably from the store or whatever. So he'd call me up. He'd have a bunch of cheap stuff. So I go over there. He had hit his score. I mean, when you're doing meth, you know all kinds of lowlifes that are stealing and doing who knows what. So he calls me up and he's like, I got all this stuff. And I get over there and it's like a fireplace mantle, just like a table saw, DVDs, all kinds of random shit. He wants like $50 for everything. This is late at night. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Now, mind you, I didn't have
It's a deal. I mean, that's a good deal.
That's a good deal. It was
right?
It was probably $2,000 worth of stuff I was getting for
good
$50.
Discount, right?
And I was trading for it. So for me, it was only cost me about $10.
Nice.
So I get this stuff, and mind you, I don't have a house or anything. I'm living up on the hill where I've been talking about in previous episodes. And I've got all this stuff, and my little S10 had a bed cover on it. Well, with all this shit piled in the bed cover, it was like up in the air like this with a ratchet strap. I mean, I had potentially stolen shit just piled all in my truck.
Overflowing, sounds like.
Overflowing. Yeah. Backstory, one time while I was out cooking, I lost my keys. So I'm stuck out here in the middle of nowhere. Oh, so I ripped out my whole steering column on my truck, beat it with a hammer until I got down to this little nub the socket would fit on, and I could start my truck. So I'd start it with like a socket is how I started my truck. So I've got all this stuff. I'm coming down Sycamore Road. I'm going like 85 mile an hour. I'm by myself. It's like midnight. I pass Hafer Road. I'm on Sycamore. I'm going about 85, and I look over and I see a Carterville cop.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, fuck. I'm already going 85. He hits his lights. He's over probably 100 yards, but he sees this truck racing by, so he hits his lights. I, on my truck, had a switch where I could turn off my brake lights.
Okay.
So it'd kill all the lights on the back of my truck.
Did you put that in there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had one of my tweaker buddies install it.
Just flip it off.
Yeah, it seemed like I'd been watching Batman, so.
You're getting away.
Yeah, a little 007 action. So I lay into it, and I'm going like 100 down Sycamore Road. And this is a rough back country road that's just, rough as hell. I come up on Grand. Well, I hope Illinois drivers people don't hear this. Anyways, I come up on Grand. I hit my switch. I turn out my headlights so I can see if there's any cars. I slow down a little bit, but that's like a kind of a outlaw move, it's nighttime. I was hoping I would see car headlights if they were coming.
Right.
So as I'm going down Sycamore, going all the way to Cambria, I'm gaining on him. I'm like, all right, this is working. I'm getting away. I hit Cambria Main Road. I gain a little bit more on him because he's stopping. So my house was off of Sycamore where I'm living. And I went up the driveway, went around the back of the house. Oh, another thing, I had shit all in the front. The whole front's full of shit. So as I'm in this chase, I've got all these drugs in my pocket and money. But when you're tweaked out, none of it's organized. I had like 10 ones in here and a bunch of just shit. So I didn't have time to look for the drugs as I'm running. So I'm just grabbing everything in my pockets and throwing it out the windows.
Wow.
Just whatever's in my pockets, it's going out the window.
Yeah.
In the process, I'm dropping money in the truck as I'm throwing it out. So then I turn in, I go behind the house, I throw it in park, but I'm still moving. So the truck's like, "Arr." I slide like 10
man.
feet. I get it in park. I jump out. We had some like privacy fence that we seen for free somewhere, and it was leaned up against the woods. So I jump out. I got a little bit more stuff in my pocket. I throw it over that fence. Some money falls on the fence. I run around to the front of the house, and now the cops pulled in to the driveway. But he didn't see my truck back there. So he's backing out. And I had a bat cave on the back side.
A bat cave?
Yeah, it was like...
Okay, what is that? You got to explain that a little more.
Like an eighth of a mile down the road, there was this triangle of woods. It was like a pie. And if I went down the back side of the woods, it'd come to the back of the house.
Okay.
I don't know who owned the property, but I had a truck trail down the back side of the woods. So I'd be going real fast, and all of a sudden I'd just cut off the road whenever I'd have people with me, and it'd just be like trees, we're going real fast. So I called it my bat cave.
Trust me, we're going here.
Yeah, I should have took the bat cave. I would have got away.
The back door entrance.
Right. So as I'm coming around the house, and is this cop still a cop, Lisa?
I don't think so, but he's military, so active military.
Yeah, he's my buddy. So now he's my buddy. But this cop in particular, he's backing down the driveway. Me being all high and nervous, I didn't know what to do. I should have just stayed there and hid. He would have left probably. But it's, for whatever reason in my head, it told me to walk out to him, That's what I done. So I walk out there to him. My truck's still running because the socket that I started with had fell. So when I jumped out, it wasn't there to shut my truck off. So I just jumped out, left it running.
No keys.
No keys.
Just the socket on the ground.
So I go up to this cop and I'm like, "Hey man, are you looking for me?" And he's like, "Jesse." He knows me real well.
Yeah.
And we hadn't had I never really had bad experiences with the cops because they could never catch me.
Right.
To have the bad experiences, I was always getting away. So I go up to him, and he's like, "Jesse, why are you running from me?" And I was like, "Were you chasing me?" I said, I seen you way back there, but I thought you were pulling over another car or something,
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're going 85. He's already called backup because he's in a high-speed chase.
Dang.
More than likely, he probably would have let me go if that hadn't already went down. So he's like, "Okay." So about this time, instead of coming down the road, here comes, because we're in Cambria. Cambria at this time, the police station shut down at like 10 p.m. There's no cops.
wow.
Carterville would come over and assist Cambria.
Gotcha.
So here comes a Carterville cop through the field where the guy crawled like the Serengeti. Yeah, they turned into the trailer court, all the cops did, and they seen that we're up here on the hill. And they all start coming across this like field, they're jumping, and they get to us, and we walk around the back side to my truck, and I've got this bullshit story. I'm like, "So I got kicked out of my parents' house, and I'm living here, and this is all my shit." Because my truck's still running now. You can tell I slid up into the woods a little bit. There's like 3 or 4 cops there. And they start shining lights, and there's money on the fence. And they're like, "What's this money on the fence?" And I was like, "Damn, I don't know. Your lucky day, you found a 5, They look in my truck. There's money, the same money. Like when you're tweaked out, you don't put your money in a stack and put it in a wallet. It's just like crumpled in a little ball in your pocket, a shit ton of it. So they're seeing money in there, and they're looking at all this potentially stolen stuff. I don't know. I paid for it, but
Right.
I got a hell of a deal on it.
Exactly.
So they give me a ticket for speed, and I think I got 20 over. Oh, they shine the lights at my ignition. The truck's still running. And they're like, "Is this truck stolen?" And the cop's covering for me. And he's like, "No, it's his truck. I know it's his truck. They're running it and stuff." And I was trying to explain. And mind you, I'm like 135. I look like a skeleton.
Yeah.
They know what I'm up to.
Right.
But they ended up just giving me a ticket or 2, speeding tickets. It wasn't nothing for fleeing or eluding or nothing
Really?
like that.
Wow.
And they went on their way.
Man.
Yeah, it was crazy. I had all this stuff. So I'm telling them that I live here now at this place. I don't have a key because we never locked the door. But when my roommate seen the cops, he locked all the doors. He's like,
Oh,
shit, he shuts all the
no.
doors. So,
Sorry, not letting you in.
so I'm telling the cops that I live here, and they're like, okay. And I'm like, here, I'll like show you. I'm like banging on the door, and they won't open the door. Yeah. I'm like, I swear they're here. I talked to them like an hour ago. They're in there.
Yeah.
I knock. They wouldn't answer. Finally, the cops just give up and left.
Wow.
So we had a lot of good times up there on the hill.
I'd say.
Another short story I'll throw in. One time we were going to make some drugs, and I had this duffel bag on my back, and I'm on my 4-wheeler. It was a 660 Raptor.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
My buddy's on like a 4x4 utility 4-wheeler. We take off down this country road, and when I get to a T, I look to the left, and I see a car, and this is the middle of the daytime, I'm pretty sure. Looking back, I think it was daytime. I see a car way down there. I turn out in front of them, and I'm on a fast 4-wheeler, you know, I got this duffel bag on my back, and I stand it up in a wheelie. I'm probably going like 50 miles an hour, and I'm riding this long-ass wheelie on my 4-wheeler, just not even thinking about that car that was back there. And right when I sat the wheelie down, all of a sudden, bam, this car hits me in the ass end.
Oh, no.
And it was like an old school Oldsmobile, so like an 80s style. The car went on top of the 4-wheeler tire, the subframe, the wheelie bar went through the radiator. So the car went up on top of my 4-wheeler tires, and it locked up my 4-wheeler tires. So they're pushing me going like 60 mile an hour. And I jump up on the seat and I look, and it's this carload of like college kids, and they're all laughing and shit. And I'm like, they're trying to fucking kill me. Like they did it on purpose. Like they seen me and they sped up and fucking rammed me.
No way.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So now they're pushing me down the road. My back tire's locked up. And finally they stop, but they're stuck on top of my 4-wheeler. So he backs up and they take off around me and they're dumping antifreeze.
Oh, wow.
I drop the bag. My buddy pulls up like, holy shit, what just happened? I dropped the bag. He grabs it and I chased him. For a couple miles. And then I started thinking, I was way out in the country. I thought, man, there's like 5 of them. What if they do stop? Then what am I going to do?
Right.
Which I was pretty cracked out, so it would have been a horrible experience for them.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure. They would not want to face you
ate your
again.
fucking face off.
Yeah. Go zombie mode on them, man.
Yeah. So we had a good time up there. That was just some more of the shit that we done while we were there.
You've been on a lot of police chases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, what's going through your mind? Like, whenever you see that, like, what is, like, driving you? What's that process like? Is it
a lot of adrenaline? Like, when I'm running from the cops or when I was running from the cops, it would be a lot of adrenaline. But what got me away from running from the cops, and this isn't a good thing, is the adrenaline is what gets you caught. Because you get pumped up and you make stupid moves. So when you're running from the cops, say, on a 4-wheeler, what happens is they'll crowd you and your adrenaline's going so fast you fuck up and make a mistake. So one thing I always knew from a young age, that when I got chased by the cops, I would stay calm. Don't freak out. I wouldn't panic. I would just run like I normally would. But I knew that when you panic and you push it too hard, you know, you're running on your 4-wheeler and you take the curve too fast, you're going to fucking wreck. So I would slow down a lot in my head.
That's interesting,
and
man.
bring it back.
Yeah.
Because if you get, you know, wound up and you're stressed out and the cops are crowding you, you're going to fuck up. That's their move. So my move to counter that was to calm down. They're behind me. And I'd done it so much, especially on my 4-wheeler. If I was on my 4-wheeler, I'd never worried. I'm getting away. Good luck. I had too many trails cutting through, so just a lot of adrenaline. And the way I'd done it was I'd tell myself to calm down.
Wow.
Eminem was real big back then, curtain call, so I'd have his like music, his little drum beat music, you know, the soldier song playing in my head. But
that's cool, man. Soundtrack, man. You gotta have it.
Yeah, I would just calm down, back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Take it easy. They're back there. They're not gonna run me off the road. They're not gonna hit me. They would act like it, but I knew that they would have a big ass lawsuit if they did. So.
Well, it worked, man. Never got caught.
Yeah.
And on a chase, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Never once
Yeah.
in a physical chase. I never once got caught. I mean, the truck, you know, I pulled it up. I could have got away there. I guess you could call that caught. I kind of walked out on myself, but never on the four-wheeler did I ever get caught.
Do you
And-
think that any way that helps you in business now, like if something's going wrong, some stress, like just being able to like
For sure.
channel that, does that help?
I think just the knowing it, and it goes for everything with fighting, same with fighting. When people get in fights, they get the same thing. They get adrenaline and they'll swing and miss. So like, you just want to be calm and be focused and be precise. So
You make better decisions, right?
Yep.
Not maybe, make like you were saying, like a bad turn or
Right.
something like that.
Oh yeah. With the work I'm doing right now that I done today is I'm on heavy equipment. I'm down 30 feet in a hole and I've got all these bracing going across. It's like playing operations. So I do the same thing there. Calm down. It's all right. Don't hit nothing. If I hit something, I could literally, side effects could be death because these braces are under pressure. If you hit that with the tractor, the whole sheet pile wall could cave in. So like,
That's high stake.
it's high stake. It's high dollar, high stake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty wild.
I mean, riding a wheelie 85 miles an hour, that's like high stake too.
Right.
One little wrong move and, could be it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's cool you've been able to like adapt there and like even now, like what you're doing today.
Right.
You just be able to calm yourself and stay focused.
Yeah.
Help you do the work you need to do.
It's worked so far. But now we'll go to talking a little bit about what we do for work. You guys already know I've got the excavation company. Luke produces podcast. He offers different packages. So in our case, we needed a producer. He helps with editing, producing, everything. It was like a launch. It's a launch package.
Exactly. Get you off the ground.
Yep. So the package we chose had 4 episodes, but he done such good work that we were like, Luke, you can't leave us. So I highly recommend them. They do great work. What got you into wanting to do this? Little history I know is that you went to school for it. So
Yeah.
was it a young age that you liked?
Yeah, well, first, Jesse, thanks for the recommendation and kind words, man. It's been awesome working with you on this podcast and just hearing your story is super inspiring. So it's just been awesome to be a part of, just helping get that out there.
Right.
'Cause I think so many people out there need to hear this, hear your story and see that there is like, what you can do, when you pull yourself up and do it, and you and getting to know your wife and you're getting to know your business. It's just awesome. So first of all, thank you for
I appreciate that.
bringing me in, and it's been an awesome journey so far, and I know there's a lot more to come.
Is this what
so.
you thought whenever we called you? You were like,
I wasn't sure, man. I wasn't sure, but I came here, checked out the spot. This was before it was like all set up, but it had the good nuts and bolts.
right,
You guys just need a little bit of push to get over that hump and actually go live.
right,
There's a lot that goes into it to get it off the ground and running. A lot of that work comes beforehand.
right,
But yeah, I've been doing this for, I think I got into it probably when I was like 18 or something, but, studied media in college. So yeah, I went to school at SIU, graduated in 2016, and just sort of was freelancing after that, just taking whatever job I could find. I would search Craigslist. I mean, really getting started was just any job, really, taking anything I could get, and just sort of built it more and more. And now I'm doing more podcasts and do a little bit of commercial videos as well. So, yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. And I think podcasts are just such a great format, to tell stories, to promote your business. And, it's just been a lot of fun, to be honest.
So you're 100% in. You just work for this business, and
Yep.
that's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, thanks, man. It's been not without its trials, but you know, it's been, gosh, I've been having this new business is going on 4 years now.
Okay.
So yeah, no plans of slowing down anytime soon.
That's
man.
great. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely keep you around. We like you. So.
Thanks, Jesse. It's been good.
But yeah, if you live in Southern Illinois, Kentucky, anywhere close, I would highly recommend Luke O'Neill. He's done great work for us. So how long do you go to school for the degree? You got 2 years?
So actually, mine was a 4-year.
Was it?
It was. So it was a bachelor's of arts, actually. It took a while to get into like the courses that I really wanted to take. I think there was a lot of time wasted in school, to be honest, but at the same time, it got me to where I'm at now. So
SIU's a pretty good school to go to, so I hear.
it was, and I had a really good time there and good teachers and everything. But
Did you ever go to a house party when you went to SIU?
I did.
Did you
I sure
ever
did.
see anybody in one of those basement parties with nitrous balloons?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I did.
No?
I probably did. When I was there, I was living in Carbondale too at the time. There were the basement parties I would go to would be like at Lost Cross, or it's like a basement punk show. A
Right.
bunch of punks.
Yeah.
Just kind of
That's where we'd go
wreaking
to. We were
havoc.
just little kids. It's the only ones we could get into.
Exactly.
But my
mean,
parties
it's
were
fun
probably
times.
2001, 2002, maybe somewhere in there. Because we'd go over there when we were in high school,
Yeah.
or, supposed to be in high school party.
Right.
But I told a story on a previous episode about nitrous, and Lisa said, I'd never seen nitrous at a house party. I'm like, I thought that was a common thing. Yeah. Maybe I was just going to the rough end of town.
Yeah. It's a definitely party town, party school, and I had a lot of fun, no doubt. But
We left one of those house parties one night, and we go to Taco Bell on our way back home.
oh yeah.
We go through the drive-thru and we get our food, and it's like 2 a.m. They're about to close. We pull over to the parking lot to eat our food, and the guy that served us pops his head out the window, and he's like, "My name's Shahid, and I've got that fire, I've got that icky, I've got that Jupalupa shit." And I'm looking at my buddy like, what the fuck's he talking about? He's at the drive-thru window. And he's like, just
Is that
wait.
a new burrito? What's
Yeah,
he talking about?
yeah, Jupalupa. Let me get 2 Jupalupas.
I'll take one. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, wait for me. I get off in 5 minutes. And he closes the window. And I look at my buddy. I'm like, what the fuck did he say? And he's like, I don't know. But he said, wait for him. He just comes out. And mind you, when I grew up, there was not too many African American people in Southern Illinois. So my class, one of my best friends, he was black. But this guy was like black, like I'd seen on TV. Like he was from Chicago.
Yeah.
So we're in the country. So
Right.
he had only been to Chicago and here.
Wow.
He would ride the train back and forth. So he hops in with us, and he's like, I can get nickel bags and dime bags, talking about weed. And I'm like, all right, let's get a couple dime bags, see how this works out. And it was just as shitty as I expected. And he's like, here, twist up a blunt, I'll match you. So I get this weed out and I'm breaking it up, and there's so much trash, like seeds, sticks, and stems and all this shit. And I'm picking all this stuff out, and while I'm still breaking it up, this dude's already lighting his up. And I'm thinking in my head like, damn, how do you break that down so quick? He didn't. He just put all the seeds and the stems and all that shit in that blunt. And he fired it up, and it was like the 4th of July. It was popping. All those seeds were at the end just popping. He's hitting it.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my buddy like, damn, he's going hard. Yeah, so we take him home, and we would call him. We were in school at this time, and I was in school, so I had to have been 15, 16. We were young to be over there acting like that. But so, because I remember in school, my buddy drew this big pot leaf, and it said Shahweed on it. So that's where we would go get our weed at, this shitty weed in Carbondale. And one time I'm over there, and his grandpa comes out. So he lived with his 91-year-old grandpa on the east side. Mm-hmm. And I'd been going there getting little nickel and dime bags for a while. So me and grandpa were pretty cool. And one time I pulled up, grandpa comes out in a robe, and I can see this big, dirty, hairy pistol in the pocket, like a big revolver. And he's looking at me all funny. I'm sitting out in front of the house, and I'm like, what's up, Grandpa? And he ignores me. He walks down to the end of the block where there's a group of guys, and he's talking to him, and he's pointing at me. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Jeez.
They all come walking over, and these guys are like, you giving Grandpa a hard time? And I was like, no, I'm waiting on Shahweed, you know. Grandpa's cool. I've talked to him 100 times. And Grandpa pulls his gun out, And you can't raise it. He's too old and brittle. And they were all like, Grandpa, no, no, no. And he thought I was fucking with him.
Wow.
But we that wasn't the end of Shawweed. So for Grandpa's 91st birthday, Shawweed got him a blowjob from like a 19-year-old girl in the neighborhood that was working. Yeah, I was just
Happy
a little
birthday,
kid.
Grandpa.
Yeah, I thought I was like, damn, yeah, Grandpa got him a blowjob at 91 from a local prostitute.
Still going strong, huh?
Another time, I took my girlfriend over there, and we go up, we knock on the door. Shawweed opens the door, and he's wearing boxer shorts. And I've never seen anything like this. This sumbitch's dick was hanging out the bottom of his boxer shorts about this far. And he's talking, and he's like, hey, man, what's up? And I look down, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, there's a big old fucking horse cock hanging out your britches.
Jeez.
He's talking. He's like, let me get some clothes on. He's like walking to his bedroom. This thing's just flopping around. I'm like telling my girlfriend, I'm like, that's not normal. That's abnormal.
That's not right. No,
Yeah.
don't. This is not
Damn
the
it,
expectations.
Yeah. But if I had a
Put me
dick
to
like
shame
that, I'd
over
be
here.
swinging it around too. And then it gets better. So then I took Shawweed to the Heron Fest. I'm like, hey, let's go to the fair. And he'd only been on the train from Carbondale to Chicago.
Wow.
So we go to the fair, and he gets one of those lizards on the stick with the ball. He thought that was the coolest fucking thing. He walked around with that for hours, just fucking picking up the little ball with the little foam lizard. Another time with Shawweed, we went to, he wanted me to give him a ride to a store. I give him a ride to a store, and he goes in with a backpack, and he wants these ferrets. So he goes into the store. They were like albino ferrets. He walks into the store, which he was kind of out of place. And he comes out, and this backpack's like moving. And I'm like, damn, and he's took 2 ferrets.
Oh,
Like walked right by the register with ferrets in his bag. But we didn't know them things are fucking meaner than hell.
Damn.
Yeah, so these are all short stories of Shawweed that I remember as a kid. The final story, we're all in the east side of Carbondale. We're underage as hell. We're like 16. We've all got open container, and there's 5 of us in an old Thunderbird. So we get pulled over. I'm in the back passenger seat. Shawweed's in the center, and my other buddy's over here. We all got beer cans, and we put them in the armrest of the car, which would not close. Now it's like sticking out into Shawweed's back. And these were all half full and shit. There's beer all over. He's trying to cover it up.
It's like leaning back into it.
Yeah, it's like crunching and shit. We're like, don't move, Shawweed.
Don't spill my beer.
So it's 4 like 16-year-old kids and a 28-year-old black guy in the center, and we're over in the east side, and like
Right.
we don't belong, obviously. So as the cops were walking up, Shawweed looked at me and he said, "What's your name gonna be?" And I said, Jesse. And he was like, "I'm gonna be John Johnson." And I was like, "Oh man, I don't know, dude, but whatever. I thought maybe this guy's got a gig, you know, or he knows
Right.
how to do something here." Cops asked me my name. I'm Jesse May. They get to Shawweed, and they're like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "John Johnson." They said, "Can you spell that?" And he was like, J-O. He didn't even get John spelled. They get him out of the car. That was the last time I seen Shawweed.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he had a warrant back in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good times, just running around as a kid, meeting random people in Carbondale.
Oh, yeah.
It was full of characters.
Oh, yeah.
And it still is, I'm
It's
sure.
notorious for that.
They used to have Tanner. You remember Tanner?
Oh, yeah.
Tanner was cool.
Absolutely. I remember seeing him at Lost Cross at the basement show,
Yeah,
just wreaking havoc.
just partying.
Yeah.
Tanner was a guy that liked to party, and then he ended up being homeless. At first, he wasn't homeless, you know. He just liked to party, but the party got to him, and then he lived in Carbondale on the streets for
Years.
years.
Yeah.
And then he passed away a few years ago.
Kind of recently. There always this story about Jason Tanner. That's his name.
Okay.
That he used to be a really good skateboarder. I
Yep.
think back in
I
the
think
day.
you're right. I heard that. It was in the paper when he died
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. Skateboarder, and then I think he took a bunch of acid and jumped in a fire or something.
Damn, Tanner.
There was this legend that was around this guy in the
Right.
party scene, you know, and I guess after that he sort of kind of lost it in a way.
Right.
But He's a Carbondale legend for
He's
sure.
a legend for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And in the time frame that he was over there, like there was a lot of acid. Have you ever seen a movie called SLC Punk?
I think I've heard of it. I don't think I've
Dude,
seen
go
it though.
watch it. It's where the
Yeah.
kid's got a bunch of acid and he's like running from the school cop and he runs and the sprinklers go off and it's in his pocket and it gets all wet
Oh,
and it soaks
no.
in and he's fucked up for like he's fucked up forever. Like
Yeah.
in the movie, this dude that had this happen is fucked up having bad trips and flashbacks
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Man, there's a big party scene there for sure. I was on the periphery of a lot of it, but you know, most of I know a lot of this podcast is about like, the drugs that were here in Southern Illinois. And, for me, I'm probably about 10 years younger, maybe than you, Jesse, something like that. Like 2010, I was over there, like 2012, 14, whatever.
yeah, I was in prison
Yeah.
those years.
Yeah. But then it was, because I know meth's a big part of the story. And, my memory of would be like in junior high. I don't know if they did this when you guys were in junior high, but they came to the schools and like put on these like assemblies about like trying to not get kids to do meth. And like they
That's good.
show these pictures of
Jane on meth.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
They're crazy looking.
Exactly. So it's like that's what I remember from that time.
Right.
But then when we got a little bit older, like into high school and stuff, people were into opioids, and
Yep.
that's when that whole shit was going down.
It's crazy if you just like watch the cycle of drugs, like whatever comes up, it was cocaine and then it was crack once they,
Right.
figured out how to cook crack, and then meth came behind crack, and then after that opiates took over and there was all the oxycontins. And then now opiates have kind of moved out and it's fentanyl because that's all.
Right.
So it's like these weird drugs just keep coming through and doing their cycle. But yeah, it is crazy. Like when there was crackheads, I seen this video of this guy and he's like in the hood. He's like, fuck fentanyl. He's like, get us crack back. He said, these motherfuckers be mowing the yards, fixing the cars. He's like, these fentanyl fucking guys are just dying.
Just dead.
They're
yeah.
just dying.
Yeah. I heard the same thing. Like someone's like, I've seen a 55-year-old crackhead, doing their
Right.
thing. They've been doing
All
the thing for
muscular
20
and
years.
shit. Yeah, they're
And,
healthier than anybody
now
I've
these
seen.
fentanyl is like, yeah, it just kills them, man.
It's scary.
And that stuff's coming in. It got into heroin too with the opioids. I had some friends die, and still addicted to this day.
Right.
Really good people, talented people, like in sports, and it's just like just totally wreaked havoc on them, and it's messed up. But yeah, now man, the fentanyl stuff is like, I don't even know how people mess with any
Right.
drug now because of the fentanyl.
It would scare me too much.
Right?
Not that I would do coke anymore,
Right.
but that like 100% sealed, I would never even think about
know,
it
man,
because
'cause
it
you
would be
You just don't know, and like
Yeah.
such a tiny thing can kill you.
right. It always makes me wonder.
Trace
Like
amount.
you'll see in the paper or whatever, so and so got busted with a bunch of fentanyl. And I'm thinking, how is it if it's just like a trace
Yeah.
amount, like, and they got caught with 2 grams? Like, how are they splitting that shit up to
kidding.
make sure each person's getting a dose,
Right.
the proper? Obviously, it ain't a proper dose, but
Right.
not an overdose,
Right. A lethal dose.
a lethal dose.
Right.
Yeah,
And that stuff's coming from where? China, Mexico? I don't know, man. Not
I think China because
Yeah.
I did see a thing which I get a lot of my news off of TikTok. But I did see a thing that was saying the cartels were saying if they catch anybody pushing fentanyl, they're gonna, be in trouble
Yeah.
because it's completely fucked up the cartels trade.
right.
So
Right,
all that
man.
they got over there, nobody wants to do the coke anymore because they're scared it's got fentanyl. So
Right, man. It's crazy.
have you ever watched Intervention?
Oh yeah. Oh
Dude,
yeah.
There's this chick on there, and it's not funny, so I shouldn't be laughing, but the scene's funny. She's strung out on air duster.
Oh wow.
And she's doing this air duster and she like hits it. She's all fucked up in her car. There's like 20 cans and she looks at the camera and she's like, it's like walking on sunshine.
Oh man.
And they made all these like memes off of
Oh
it.
yeah, I'm sure.
And I sent it to Lisa like a meme, and she's like, "What is this?" And I had her watch the show, and she's like, "That's too much." Like, they had little songs. It wasn't just memes. It was like a whole song, like "Walking on Sunshine."
Oh my
Woo,
gosh.
the
Yeah.
song, you know.
Right.
And every time it would get to the part where it's like, "I'm walking on sunshine," it would be her, and she's like, "I'm walking on
In
sunshine."
the corner,
Yeah.
huffing duster.
So, but yeah, I do think that the drugs just cycle. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it's part of like the human. I don't know. Not everybody does drugs, but I'd say 50% of people are there. It's a 50-50 chance. You know, are you going to take that path? And it's hard to say no in school when I don't know how it is with the phones. I'm sure it's even harder.
Right.
But for me, is I seen all the kids going and smoking cigarettes. That's where it started as a little kid, and I'm like, all right, those dudes are cool. And I'd go
Right.
smoke cigarettes, and then somebody pulls out some weed, and you're like, all right. And then I'm not saying weed's a gateway drug, but you know, it was the lowest on the totem pole that I felt safe doing.
Sure.
And after I'd done that a little while, I'm like, all right, let me try some of that meth. See how that works out.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I don't want to get too crazy, but my parents went away to the race that Dale Earnhardt died at.
Wow.
So while they were at that race, they left me with $200. They left my brother with $200, and I'm like 14. I don't know. I might have been older than that. I might have been like 16 or something. 2001 or 3. So they leave me $200. They give my brother $200. The house is full of food. They're going to be gone for a week. They're going to Florida. So and my first thing I do is I take my $200 and I went and bought 2 ounces of weed. As you know, made the most sense. I had food.
Yeah.
I didn't have no weed, so
There you go.
I'm thinking, all right. And my plan was always like, I'm going to smoke half and I'll sell the other half to make my money back. And I could do that for about 2 weeks before I smoked it all.
Right.
Whatever. But I remember I come out of my bedroom and I had already been doing some speed, but I hadn't ever done coke. I didn't meth. But I remember I come out and they've got the mirror off the wall on the bed and there's some cocaine on it. I'm like, what the hell is that? And they're like, you don't want none of this shit. And I'm like, what's it do to you? And they're like, it makes you real happy and get shit done and you'll feel great. And I was like, I think I do want to try some of that.
You're really
shit.
selling it.
Yeah, I was like, I think I do want to try some of that. So
It's like that scene in Dewey Cox.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it was just like
Yeah.
that. Like I walked in, I'm like, what is that? You don't want none of this shit. This is for big boys. I was like, I'm feeling pretty big. I am feeling pretty big.
Right. So did you do it?
I'm sure I did. Yeah. Back at that time, it didn't take much to convince me.
Yeah.
I'd already been doing meth, so I'm sure,
Yeah.
But
Do you remember your first time, Jesse, doing it?
no.
Yeah.
No, but I know I got caught when I was about 15 or 16, so I would say it was around 15
Yeah.
when I started the meth.
Yeah.
I'd been smoking weed for a year or 2, 3, probably.
Yeah.
No, and I don't know how I got around the people I did either, because it went quickly as a kid from being in school to hanging around a bunch of like 50-year-olds at this compound. This is a part I haven't even touched on yet. But when I first got into meth, I was like 15, 16, and I started in it. I guess I should start from the damn beginning, right? So the neighbor, Jeremiah, who I talked about in the previous, we'll call him Jeremiah, episode, his girlfriend had a little sister. She gets pregnant. So one day, Jeremiah calls me. Okay, let me get some backstory. So it's his girlfriend's little sister. She gets pregnant. Jeremiah calls me. And he's like, and I'm kind of good. I've been trying meth, but I hadn't really like went off the deep end. And I'm just a kid, like 17, and her little sister was like 15 probably, and I'm like 17. Jeremiah calls me. He's like, hey, come over here real quick. I hadn't seen this girl in like 6 months. because she was staying over with him with her dad. So I was seeing her over there. So he calls me over, and when I get there, I knock on the door, and her dad answers. And I'm like, this is weird. And he's like, I don't know what happened there, but the last time I'd seen him, he and her dad weren't getting along. So I think this old dude's going to fight. And I'm like, just a kid. I had actually pulled in the driveway in my truck and ran out of gas as I pulled in the driveway. So I go across the street, knock on the door, dad answers. I get in like a fighting mentality, you know, like he can tell I'm wanting to fight. And he's like, whoa, your beef ain't with me, it's with her. And I look, and this girl walks out of the bedroom, and she's pregnant. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm just a kid, and I've got another kid pregnant. We're going to have a kid, I'm thinking.
Wow.
So
It's a shock.
yeah, so I take off, and I've kind of been dabbling in drugs, and I know where I was getting them at from these old dudes. So it started out as I could go buy $4 worth of pills at the dollar store, which were Sudafed. $4. I'd get 100. I could take it to these guys. They'd give me 100 cash or like 80. So I could turn 4 into 80 on a Friday night, and I would go get weed or beer money or whatever, party with my buddies. That
It's a
turned
good flip for a young man, right
pretty
there.
good flip, but that turned me into doing it while I'm over there. You know, they'd be like, can we trade you? Because they didn't want to give me cash. So I know these guys. So back to the girl. I see she's pregnant, and I panic, and I run. I ran back across the street to my mom's house. I ran inside. I'm like running away. I'm getting the hell out of here. I grab a bunch of clothes. I run out to my truck. I throw all the stuff in my truck. I get in, turn the key. I'm like, fuck, it's out of gas. I jumped out of my truck and took off running down the road. I remember this. I was just a little kid. I took off running down the damn road. And I
gotta go.
I had to go. I was like, I'm not meant for this. So I went, and I ran, and I went to this place where I was trading the pills, and I ended up staying there for about 6 months, and it was nowhere a little kid should have been. Why they were hanging out with kids, I don't know. I look back, it's weird as fuck. But it was this compound, and it was these two brothers, and they each had a trailer. There may have been 3 trailers, and there was like 10 acres of land, and they had this big barn where they were cooking meth. There was 53 stolen cars on this property, and it was right on the main highway.
What?
So it looked like a big junkyard, but all these cars are stolen. I didn't know all this as a kid, you know. I'm just getting around this, and I'm seeing and hearing the craziest shit from all these old tweakers that are going hard. And so I ran away from the girl. So let's get back to that so I can clear that up. I did have to go to court. I got a court date saying go to court, and it was me and there was 3 of us involved. There was 4 of us involved, 3 guys and 1 girl in this whole court deal. And it was me, my buddy from the hill that I lived with there, and another guy, the 3rd guy. So we all get court dates to go to court. And
that's not somewhere you want to be.
It's not good. So we go to court, and they read the thing, and it was 99% not mine, and 99% not my buddies. Neither one of ours. I'm like, golly, girl, damn. I thought.
Had to take me to court for the Maury moment?
I didn't know you were getting around like that. So in the end, I got into all this meth because it wasn't even my damn kid. People trying to blame me.
Damn, man.
So, yeah. So then I went up around them. I was around those guys. It was really chaotic. I've got a lot of good stories about that. But it ended with having to go. They took my truck. I had that Chevy S10. And I was changing the motor in their shop. And I would just... I didn't know how to work on cars. And they told me to take the engine out. I'm going to put a new engine in it. So I started like at the top of the engine. I took the intake off. I took the heads off. I took all the shit off the front until it was just the block. And then I'm scratching my head. I'm like, damn, I could have just... Then I take the block out. But while I was there, I was like learning a lot of stuff about the process of making it. That's pretty much where I learned all that stuff from these guys. Yeah, they were just... It was weird. It ended bad. with those guys, but I did. They were like, so this went on for a while. So now I'm like 18, 19. I still know these guys, and they're 20 years older than me. They're at least 38 or 48 even. So one time I told this guy, I said, hey, I've got some girls that are having a party. Do you want to go with me? And this guy's like straight tweaker. He's like, girls, his hair ain't been cut in a fucking year, probably. He looks rough. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, go put on your best outfit. He comes back out with like a Salvation Army uniform deal, like literally army shirt, army pants. That's like his best. I'm like, oh my God. And I took him to these girls' house, and they loved him, obviously, because he was the dope man, and we were all a bunch of little kids. We're sitting there with some old man. That stuff's weird. Now that I look back, like, what the fuck were we thinking?
Right. What was he thinking too? Like,
yeah, exactly. I'm
like,
sure
damn.
I know what that fucking creep was thinking.
Yeah.
They all got busted. They all went away. When they raided the compound, that's when I found out about the cars. I didn't even know the cars were stolen. I just knew they had a bunch of junk piled around. But when the cops raided them, I seen in the paper they had 53 stolen cars there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they would have shit like these tweakers would have a crotch rocket. They would spray paint the whole fucking thing black. I mean, the fucking forks, the tires, everything, and then go ride it around town. I'm like, dude, just looking at it, it looks stolen.
Right. Just can of spray
What
paint
the
on
fuck,
it.
man?
Yeah.
But yeah, they
Not
had a
hiding
lot
it.
of stupid shit. Really pissed off their neighbors, stuff like that. But that's what got me into that life. Luckily, I got away from all that, but that was kind of the road that really led me down the wrong path right there.
Yeah.
Was that false accusation.
Yeah. That's interesting,
Right.
Some one moment change your life, right?
One moment can change your life, and you need to think about those moments, because whenever I was doing it, I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking life's a party. And it was a party for a few years, but then after that, I ended up having to go to prison and all that stuff. So the party definitely changed, and all my buddies were out here living life, and I'm sitting in a cell every day. It was not fun.
Man, so what's that like? What is what is that like? Like, just being put away, having to look on the outside.
It was bad. I remember every morning I would wake up, and where my bunk was, I would wake up and there was an exit sign hanging. And I'd be sleeping, and I would just, especially like when you go through like a traumatic experience, your dreams get intensify and whatnot. So I'd be having dreams that I'm at home, just whatever. I'm doing things with buddies, and these dreams were so real. And I remember I would wake up, this happened all the time, and as I opened my eyes, I would see that exit sign, and it would like hit me. Fuck, I got 5 more years to do. I've got to sit here and do this. I remember when I first started, I had a little calendar, and I was marking days off. I'd done like 5 of them bitches down. So my bunkie is like, quit doing that shit, and I'm glad I did. Like, once I got settled in, it was really tough because I had a baby at home. I just had a baby. So it was traumatic, it wasn't easy. I didn't sit there and cry like a baby, but inside I wanted to.
Is there at some point you feel like you almost get some momentum, or you settle into that, or you start looking ahead of getting out?
After about a year, I'd say it's 6 months to a year. The first 6 months are pretty bad. I remember my first day in, I had no clue, and I went straight to a work camp. So there was a lot of freedom. I started at a work camp, and I worked my way up. Most people start higher up and work their way down. But the first day I was doing orderly work, and I remember I had to mop and stuff, and I'm just thinking what in the fuck what have I done here? How did I mess up? And then mind you, I'd never been caught in the act with anything. I didn't even have, I don't believe I had any drug charges before my indictment, ever. Wow.
That's crazy, man. And never been even caught with the damn thing and be put away for that long. That's hard to even comprehend.
My indictment was for 4,100 grams of ghost dope is what it was called. So it's
ghost dope.
Dope that they didn't catch, but 3 people say that I done it, and that's all they take. And when I say 3 people, I mean they'll go to them and they'll say, "Hey, this is what we got. You just got to agree." It's not like those people. I mean, some of the stories that were told on me were such bullshit. So whenever I got indicted, I took a plea. I accepted responsibility. Of course, they always want them to talk. I hadn't been in this shit in like 4.5 years. I'm like, buddy, everybody is already in prison that I know.
Right.
But the guys that told on me were high school friends, everybody out, some guys I was running with. 2 of them, the 2 that they took, one of them I knocked 6 of his teeth out right before he got indicted. So I knocked his teeth out. That's another good story. And another one started off his statement saying, "Me and Jesse have never got along."
Okay.
And then he straight up lied. Like, he said that he's seen me with softball-sized bags of meth. He never had. He might have heard I had that, but he never seen it.
Yeah.
So whenever they, basically with acceptance of responsibility, I'm like, yeah, I did what you said that I did. But I said, these fucking guys, I said, I did have baseball-sized bags of meth, but this motherfucker never seen it like he's saying. And I said, and this guy right here, I knocked 6 of his fucking teeth out, so all his shit's bullshit.
Yeah.
I said, but I did do this stuff. So I had, like, when I got indicted, I did have a sense of remorse. So I knew that I'd done bad, and I knew that I had to pay for it somehow. So, like, I was kind of okay with going to prison because I knew that I'd done a lot of bad shit. So it was just weird that how the system's rigged and how it is, there's 97.9% conviction rate or something like that once they indict you. So
It's crazy.
yeah, and it's just like they say, you're indicted by a grand jury. There's not a jury of your peers that you're going in front of.
Wow.
So you don't want to fight the feds. I was facing, my charge was 10 to life when I started out.
So how did that call come? Like, hey, Jesse, you're being indicted.
Yeah. So what happened was I had been clean for 4.5 years from doing any meth. I completely went cold turkey because all my buddies were dumbasses getting caught all the time. Well, when they all went to fucking prison, it wasn't no fun to do it by myself, and I've got a beautiful girlfriend. I'm trying to get away from this stuff. I mean, it had a hold on me for years to the point to where my body was so malnourished. I was probably close to death. I mean, I wouldn't eat forever.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to get out of this lifestyle. So I had been clean for 4.5 years, and I'm working at a good job, dishing at work. I was making like 75 grand a year as 23, 24-year-old. So I was doing pretty good
money
at the time. And I had been clean off of the meth for a long time. I still smoked pot at the time. And I was at work, and my buddy tells me, high school buddy, he said, "Hey, so-and-so that's in prison told me that the feds came to him asking about you." And this has been 4 years ago. And I'm like, what the fuck are they asking about me for? And he's like, for that shit back in the day. I'm like, no, I never got in trouble, once. I'm like, they ain't asking about me. I'm married with a baby on the way. I go home and I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, so-and-so at work said that the feds are asking about me. And she's like, and she wasn't around none of that stuff, She's like, there ain't no way. That was 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago. And I'm like, all right, but I'm just letting you know. So there was like this 2-week period where it was in the back of my mind, like, damn. And I had a Dish Network truck at the time. I lived in a house, and my truck was always out front. Why the fuck they would wait till I'm at work to raid the house, I don't know, but I'm at work.
They raided your house?
Yeah. So it was like,
Dang,
yeah. Oh, it was like hardcore. So this is in 2008, I think. 2008 is when they raided me. So again, I had been clean. I had a roommate. We worked at we worked at Dish Network after the boat factory. So she's walking through the living room. We had a big bay window in the front. And as she's walking by, she sees all these Ford Rangers, these little black Ford Rangers flying into the yard. And at the end of the road, on each end of the road, they had state police blocking the road off, and the U.S. Marshals come in these little black Ford Rangers.
They brought in the cavalry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they were going hard.
Jeez.
So they jumped out, and they're just like rushing the front door. And she's walking by the window, like she sees all this, and they're like pointing at the door, and she goes and opens the door. And they come in the house, and they're looking for me. And they go to the closet, and I did have like a quarter of weed or something in there. And they opened the closet, and she pushed it shut. And she's like, "Do you have a warrant for him or the house?" And they were like, "Him." And she's like, "Okay, let me get him on the phone." So she calls me, and I was in Ava. And I already knew it was coming. I remember I had weed, and I had some Vicodin with me. And she calls me, and she's like, "The U.S. Marshals are here. They want to talk to you." And I'm like, fuck. And I started chucking. No, I think I took all the Vicodin, started smoking the weed real quick. I was like, golly.
If I'm going away like this.
But I didn't know what I was going away for at this time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's going on really, because it's been so long. I don't know if this is just probation. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Sure.
And detective gets on the phone, and they're like, "Jesse, where you at?" Well, me being me, I'm like, "I'm in St. Louis." I wasn't in St. Louis, but shit, I need to buy some time and think about this.
Right.
I'm like, "I'm in St. Louis," and they're like, "You need to turn yourself into Jackson County courthouse. You need to come there." But they wouldn't tell me I was indicted. They wouldn't tell me why. They just said I need to turn myself in.
Really? They wouldn't tell you why you
Yeah.
had to do that. They just said you needed to.
They got to serve you the indictment in person. Until they serve you that indictment, I didn't know this. So at the time, I could have ran before being served and not got an escape or anything like that charge. Once they serve you, then you can't, if you run, you're fucked. So what I did was I called, my wife had called me. I got off the phone with her. I called my brother, my mom, everybody. We meet at a different location. And I'm saying my goodbyes pretty much. I'm like, because I've got buddies that are doing 20. And I'm like, damn, this is it. So people in my family are like, "You sure you want to go?" They're like, we can slip you some money and you could go try it that way. And I thought about running, and I probably would have had a little support, but you just can't outrun the law. It would be a tough life. I was thinking, my wife's pregnant. I need to get this behind me. Let's see what's up. So my wife at the time and me go over, and we turn me in, and I still don't know what's going on. They take me into a room, and that's where they pulled out the indictment, and they serve it to me. It's got my picture, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right. They turn it over, and I see my distant cousin. I see his picture under mine. And I'm like, shit, his mom works for the fucking Southern Illinois Task Force.
What?
And I'm thinking, damn, what's he doing on there? Which I did know he messed around a little bit, but I never messed around with him. He was on my indictment. I never done nothing with him. None of the people on my indictment I had ever done anything with. That's what blew my mind. So in that 4.5 years I was clean, I joined the Freemasons. I had a good job. I was married, and I had a baby on the way. I was doing good. So anyways, I see my buddy's picture, and when the detectives leave the room, I tell my wife at the time, I was like, "Hey, call him, tell him they're looking for him too." But it was just blowing my mind that the task force that picks you up, he lives at their house.
Hey, come on down.
Yeah,
from breakfast. But
I had done maybe one night in county jail, and that night I was probably really drunk and don't even remember it. But this night I remember, because they had me in there for 3 days.
wow.
And I was, without talking to me at all, like, they just put me in a cell, and here I sit. They'd serve me food, and I'm just thinking, like, okay, I'm indicted. My charge was 4,100 grams of meth conspiracy, and I knew that I was facing 10 to life. And I'm like, damn, this is all not good. So 3 days later, they pull me out of the cell, and there's my buddy right there. They just got him that morning. And they load us up, and for whatever reason, they take us to East St. Louis, which my district was in Benton. So they took me to the wrong district. And I remember on that ride, this dude's just panicking. He's like, man, I didn't do nothing. I'm like, just shut the fuck up until we get some lawyers.
Right.
Because we don't even know what we're looking at here.
Sure.
They take us there. We meet a bunch of guys from like California that are flown here for court. And they're like, yeah, you guys are fucked. They're telling us, because we're kind of like giving them like, hey, if you guys, you know anybody that's ever been indicted for this? And they're like, yeah, it means you're fucked and you're going to prison.
Oh, no.
So they ended up, I come back, I go to Benton. I did get out on pretrial after maybe like a week. They let me out, and I was out on pretrial for 10 months. And I had to like report, you know, for work and do the drug counseling and whatnot while I was out, make sure I was passing piss test. And the whole time my attorney's like, you're getting probation, you're going to get probation. I didn't have any charges at all, you know, history at all. You're going to get probation. Well, we hired a freaking state attorney, not a Fed. We should have kept the public defender, if anything, that done Fed cases. And I remember, so while I'm going to the drug court, the drug classes and whatnot, I'm getting more information from people that have been through it that are coming out, you know, and I'm telling them what happened to me. And they're like, no, if you go to, because my attorneys tell me to go to trial. We're going to trial. We're going to trial. They didn't have nothing on me but people telling, we're going to trial. I'll beat this. And then I'm talking to these guys, and they're like, do not go to trial. They said, you're going to go, so if you go in the feds, I'm facing 10 to life. If I would have went to trial, I fight them, I'm going to lose. It's 99.7 conviction rate. When you lose, they give you the life. If you don't fight them and you just accept responsibility, they'll give you the 10. So, and then after that, you can do like, it's on a point system, so they can go down if you're married, if you've got high school diploma, and thank God I got my GED at this point because that helped me out there on points. Just different things. Even being married helped me. I was 24 or 25, and that age right there helped me because under that you have to go to a certain designation in the prisons. So some things did help me there, some things didn't, but all the way down to the last day, my lawyer's telling me probation. I'm a Freemason. The judge is a Freemason. I go to the dinner at SIU where they're bringing in a new worshipful master for the Masons over Illinois. The judge is there. I do the little pinky tickle. I see the judge there, but obviously I'm not going to go like talk to him, but I made myself present in front of him there.
Right.
It was mentioned at my court date too about being a Mason.
Wow.
So I go to the hearing or whatever, and that's the day I found out. My attorney, he's like, maybe it isn't a good idea, you know, or maybe you're not going to get probation. Let's see what happens here. And the judge is talking to him, and he's like, I see you're a Freemason. Where'd you go wrong? And I'm like, you know, I was just young, immature, and it seemed like a quick buck. Is that how it started? I mean, that's how addiction starts. It seems like something quick and easy. You know, it's never, hey, I want to be all fucked up and weigh 130 pounds and not eat for 3 weeks and look like a skeleton. It didn't start that way. But so I you know, I'm like, I was young and I was immature and I'd seen a quick buck, so I went for it. And the judge said, I know you're a Freemason, but unfortunately that doesn't help you here. So he hit the gavel and said 87 months. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, they tell you in months instead of years. So,
that's
like,
weird.
when they say 87 months, it takes you a minute to process. And I'm like, that's 7 years, 3 months. You know, but you get time off, you get your good time. They've got a drug program, which it's called RDAP, which you can get a year off. Which is crazy because if you do drugs and you go to the feds, you can get a year off. If you steal money like a tax scheme or something, you can't do the RDAP program.
Wow.
So like all these druggies are in prison and they're getting a year off their sentence, and all these like white collar, like high dollar guys, they're looking, I mean, I seen guys in there that were trying for alcohol. They're like, look, I was an alcoholic while I was rich. But boy, they were kicking themselves in the ass for never having a drug charge in prison because they couldn't get that fucking year off for the drug program.
Wow.
But anyways, that's how. So at that court date, I'm like, okay, so the judge is 87 months. It's over, you know. So then I'm thinking that I'm going away, you know, this is it. And I'm seeing my family as the marshals are taking me to the back room, you know, and I'm telling them kind of bye out the corner of my eye, like, fuck, see you in 7 years.
Wow.
And I get to the back and these guys are like talking and they're talking to each other. They're like fingerprinting me again or whatever they were doing. I don't remember what they were doing. They started talking like to each other, talking about me going home. And I'm like, hold on. Am I going to prison today or am I going home? And they were like, oh no, you're going home. And I'm like,
What?
I done quit my job and everything, you know? And they're like, yeah, you'll get a letter in the mail in like 6 weeks and tell you where to go. I'm like, that's fucking weird. Okay. So I call my boss back up at work and I'm like, apparently I've got 6 weeks to make more money. Cause I'm like, my mindset at this time is I've got to save as much money as possible for, you know, my ex-wife and my baby and things that are going to come up. So I'm working like every hour I can, all the jobs.
Sure.
I go back to work 4 weeks later. Like it was a stressful 4 weeks because I know I'm going away, but I don't know where. I don't know nothing.
Just kind of looming out there.
Yeah, just kind of hanging out with a bunch of time to serve.
Right.
And I got a letter in the mail that said report to Maxwell Air Force Base, Montgomery, Alabama in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, so got all my affairs in order, and my mom and my family took me down there and dropped me off at the gate. I said adios. It was like down in Alabama, you know, we live in Illinois. And they
don't take you there? They make you get a ride?
I mean, they will. They'll sure take you there.
Okay.
If you can't get a ride, they'll get you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in my case, it was a self-report situation.
Yeah.
So it sucked, but at least I got to spend the time with my family for those weeks, which, you know, later on it would have still went towards my time if I would have started earlier or late. But at the time, you know, I needed that time. It helped get stuff in order and whatnot.
Sure.
So, and then there I was down in Alabama for a good little stint.
Wow.
It was a trip. I mean, culture shock. Talk about not being around this stuff at all. Puerto Rico is a territory of America. So and they don't have state laws. Let me think about that. I don't think they have state laws in Puerto Rico. I think it's federal because it's like a federal whatever.
Sure.
So if you get in any serious trouble in Puerto Rico, they all come here for prison. Okay. And I mean, it's probably the feds. My experience is probably like 40% white, 40% black, and 20 Puerto Rican. And then Puerto Ricans, they're something else, dude. They were all really lovey with each other. They'd always be in like a group, you know, just they're really like personal, you know, so it's like weird.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like that with everybody else, just their own clique.
Huh.
I want to tell one quick story about the Puerto Ricans just because it's funny. I was working in facilities in prison. So facilities covers like the electrical, plumbing, and all that different stuff, painting. And I just met this paint guy, and I'm talking to him because I was taking white wife beaters that we could get on commissary. I would soak them in black paint and dry them, and it would turn a white wife beater gray. So I was getting gray wife beaters.
Nice.
So I'm down there talking to this paint guy, and this Puerto Rican dude walks in. And he's like, you got any sandpaper? Paint guy's like, what's it for? And he pulls out he holds his hand out, and there's a dumbbell and a Playboy bunny and a star all filed down out of domino pieces. And I'm talking like perfect shapes. Like this was a Playboy bunny. It was smooth. It looked just like a Playboy bunny. And we look at it, and we're like, well, what is it? He's like, he opens up his britches. He reaches down in his pant leg like he's digging around in a junk drawer. He's moving his arm around, reaching down in there, and I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell is this guy about to do? And he pulls his dick out. And this dick, he laid this fucking thing out there. I mean, he laid it out. And on one side it said 100% beef. On the other side it had a set of lips tattooed. It had 100% beef, a lip tattoo, and down the top of it, he had these little signs or little emblems under his skin on the top of his dick. And I'm like, I remember I said, damn, you've had a lot of work done to that thing. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, what in the hell have you done? And all the Puerto Ricans, they called them pearls. Mm-hmm. And they were cutting their skin and putting these things under the skin and then gluing it back. And the thing is that didn't sell me on it. They're all like, they've been in for 20 years and they're like, oh, the girls love it. And I'm like, how do you know though? I'm like, back where I'm from, you fucking pull your dick out and you got a bunch of knots on it. It ain't gonna look good.
It's gonna be good. I don't think so.
They tried to talk me into it and I got close to it, but boy, I'm glad I didn't. There was guys going to the hospital because they would cut it and they would hit like a little vein. And that's what I'm like, damn, what if you hit the wrong vein and that some bitch just stays soft on one side?
You no more.
Get a half a heart on or something.
Don't risk that.
I remember I told the guy, I'm just joking here, but I told the guy, he's like, you want one? And I said, buddy, I jack off too much. I said, you'd see mine up here in my shoulder. I'd have to push it back down and get it back down there.
Yeah, too much.
Another buddy in my group was like, he just would not shut up about it. He was a weird dude. He was our age. And his fetish was, he always talked about it. He liked older women. And I mean like 70, 80-year-old
Wow,
women.
that's old.
That's old. He was like 29, 30. Talking about 70, 80-year-old women.
Wow.
And his fantasy, he'd tell me, when he got out, he'd be like, boy, when I get out, I just want to get a piece of glass. I want to hold it on my face and have some old woman shit on it. I'm like, I'm looking at this dude like, that's your fucking plan? Like, you know?
That's the fantasy.
That's the go-to?
Someone shit on my face. Like grandma.
Yeah, have somebody's grandma come shit on my face. So,
God, man.
This dude's talking about it. He gets one done. I remember he had a big rose tattoo on his neck. I can't remember his name. But he gets it done, and he's in our group, our little workout car, and he just will not shut the fuck up about it. All those things, this and that. Finally, one day we're all standing there, and he's talking about it. I said, let me see the motherfucker. Shit, you're going to talk about it. Let's see what the hell we're talking about here. And it's me and my buddy and him standing there, and he whips it out. And I swear to God, like, I haven't seen a whole lot of dicks in my life, so I don't know what the hell it looked like. But when this dude whipped it out, it was like this with this big ass fucking thing. And it was like this. I looked down, I seen this, and the whole fucking symbol like was bulging on it. And I looked down and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And I look up and he goes, it's got it drooping, don't it? And I looked over at my other buddy and I'm just in shock. And the dude with the pearl walks off, and I look at my buddy, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, there is no way I just seen what I thought I seen. Like, it was the smallest little dick I ever seen in my life. And he just whipped it out like it was nothing. Like, I definitely would have got her fucking chubbed up before I tried to show that some bitch off.
Grow her.
Yeah.
Those proportions are off.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, but he looked at me and he said, it's got it drooping, don't it?
Oh my God.
I was like, yeah, it's weighing it down there, buddy. It's weighing it down for sure. I can't remember his name, but yeah, there's all kinds of characters I've seen in prison.
Oh yeah.
Another buddy of mine, he came in, he had this big scar across his face. And he was a truck driver. He was a little bit older than us. He was probably 40s. And I was smoking, and I seen him. I was in the courtyard, which it's illegal to smoke in prison, but we'd do it anyways. And I'm smoking in the courtyard, and I seen him up in the window peeping down at me. He had only been there a few days, and I knew that he was jonesing for a cigarette. And I go in the bathroom, and in prison, you never go to the bathroom without washing your hands. And it's just super clean. Everything is clean or you get your ass beat. That's just how it is. So I go to the bathroom and I'm pissing. And dude, the new dude walks in. He's pissing beside me. And he's like, hits me up. He's like, hey, I seen you smoking. Do you got a cigarette? Well, it's pretty common in prison. If you got a whole cigarette, you're going to share it. It's not like they're so handy that you just smoke one by yourself. I might have shared it with 2 or 3 guys. So I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'll share a cigarette with you, And I get it done pissing. I go over and I start washing my hands. And the dude comes by me and he's headed for the door. We're about to go smoke. And I said, whoa, buddy. I said, you got to wash your hands after you piss. And he looked at me all serious and he said, I wash my hands before I piss so my dick don't get dirty. I'm like, okay, but now that you've pissed and you want to smoke a cigarette after me, you got to wash your fucking hands and wash your hands every time you come in here or it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of rules. I mean, I could do classes on what to expect when expecting on going into prison.
Sure.
A lot of etiquette, just weird things like where I was, you wouldn't come. Okay, so you're in 2-man cells with 2 bunks or 1 bunk, a top and a bottom, but you wouldn't just come over and sit on my bed. So if you sat on my bed, it's like a big sign of disrespect, unless I was like, you're my buddy, and I'm like, come on, sit on the bed, that's cool. But like just for a random dude, if you're new and you're walking around and you see somebody, don't go in their cell, flop down on their bed, because it's not a good look at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they've got. That's their home. That's everything they possess. Don't fuck with it.
Wow.
Just a bunch of stuff. You can get your ass beat for snoring, you know.
Wow.
I mean, what the hell am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
I remember when I first got there, a guy woke me up, and I must have been just farting in my sleep. He woke me up, and he's like, hey, man, you got any Pepto? And I was like, nah. And he's like, you need some? And I was like, nah, I'm good. And I went back to sleep. It was probably because I was sitting there ripping ass in my sleep. It's just weird, because now you're doing stuff. It's probably similar with military, like, you're doing, you know, you got all these guys crammed into one spot. You're all having to bathe and shit together, you know, pretty much. It's just weird. One night, this Puerto Rican comes over, and we didn't have a whole lot of Jack Mags or anything like that, you know, so you're using a lot of imagination in there. And this Puerto Rican comes over, and he's like, Jesse, I got a new Jack Mag. It's late at night. I'm like, 2 o'clock. I'm like, let me see that sumbitch. He's like, all right. So he gives it to me. I think he knows exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm headed to the bathroom. I'm like, sweet, because our bathroom had stalls and it had curtains that you would slide. But it's like 2 a.m. Nobody's coming in here. So I go to the bathroom with the Jack Mag. I'm like, all right. I got the magazine on my lap. I got a little toilet paper over here, and I'm just going to town, right? Flipping pages, going to town. And I hear somebody walk in the bathroom. And I thought, oh, no. So I slow down. I start slow stroking it, keeping her going. And as I see the feet go by the curtain and go to the showers, and I hear the shower turn on. So I think, okay, somebody came in and went to the shower, but now there's noise. So I go back to town. And about that, we would take, you would take like your shampoo bottle, and you set it down at the bottom of the curtain, and that lets people know if there's somebody's in
there, right?
I was so excited about the magazine, I forgot the shampoo bottle. So I'm sitting there, I'm going to town, I'm sitting down. So this son bitch is about 3 inches shorter than it's supposed to be. And fucking, I'm going to town. All of a sudden that curtain flings open. No. And there I sit with and it's the fucking Puerto Rican. And he's like, oh shit. And I was like, dude. And he's like, I didn't know you were. I was like, fuck. I mean, talk about low. Here I sit on a toilet in prison, jacking, got busted. I'm like, fuck. Anyways,
damn, man.
Yeah.
Had to come in on that.
Yeah, got me. But you would see the craziest shit. You'd go in the shower and there'd be shit like fucking waffled into the drain.
Wow.
Be like, don't go in that shower. Don't go in that shower. Somebody's shit in that one. People are so disgusting and weird.
Yeah.
Like people just go in there and blast all over the fucking wall.
Jeez.
It was rough.
That's wild, man.
So, but it was like a city inside a city. When I was in prison, I could talk to anybody in the federal system, anywhere in America.
Really?
Right away. Because like each prison is connected. You know, every prison's got other inmates. Every prison's going to have somebody with cell phones. Somebody's going to have cell phones. In our prison, cell phones weren't like I see on TikTok where they're just got them out in prison.
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 guys had cell phones and they were sacred. So
yeah.
If I needed to talk to that's in a different prison, I could go to him. He could call the guy that he knows at that prison. Somebody somewhere knows a guy at that prison. And but the guys with the cell phones were all interlocked. They knew people everywhere. So It might cost you a little money. You know, here's a couple mackerel. That's what we used instead of postage stamps was mackerel as currency. You'd see a guy going across the yard with a laundry bag with like 200 mackerel in it. He's got $200 on it. He's got a big old fat stack of cash. Yeah, they gamble hard in there, run numbers on everything. NASCAR, all that shit. And they gamble with mackerel. There's like store guys. So they'll like load up on commissary, sweets. So if you're watching a TV and you want a sweet, you can go to the store guy, give him a mackerel. He'll give you a honey bun or whatever the fuck it is.
It's interesting, man. It's almost like a world. It's a whole world on its own.
It is. It's what it felt like. Like when I was in that world, it felt like I was like a part of this world, but like it was its own little country kind of type deal. Like it was all interlocked. And then eventually I ended up getting in trouble. So prison wasn't great, but it was an experience. It got me to where I am today. You know, I learned a lot. I had a lot of life lessons. Now I'm doing good, but that's what got me here.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's an awesome story, you know, to see where you've been and where you are now.
So, all right, Luke. Well, I appreciate you letting me tell you some stories, and I appreciate you telling us about yourself a little bit.
Oh, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate you having me on, and this podcast has been awesome, and super stoked for more episodes, and just, you know, glad to be part of this whole project, this whole journey, man. So,
yep, appreciate it, Luke. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up. You can find Luke at
find me online, unionstreetarts.com. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Just our website, unionstreetarts.com. If you want to start a podcast like this, we can help you do that. Videos. Yeah, just reach out. We're taking on new projects, so yeah, let us know.
You never know unless you ask. So if you're sitting at home thinking, I wonder if he could do this. He does weddings. That's another thing we should have touched on. You do weddings, right?
White Oak Wedding Films. I'm glad you mentioned that.
White Oak Wedding Films.
Yep.
So if you got a wedding in Southern Illinois, they can photo or videographer that. Any of that good stuff. Podcast, anything with a camera. Give Luke a call. That's Union Street Productions.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube at reckless.success, Instagram at recklesssuccess. We're on Spotify and all major podcast services. Hit that subscribe button, please. For more information on May Excavating, check out our website or TikTok. That's a wrap. Thanks.